Hi guys, my name is Kit and this is the fifth video in my Taught Scripting series. So as you can see, we're starting in a different spot today. We are going to be walking through how to set up webhooks so that you can post from Conan script to a Discord server. So one thing that I will say to start with is I'm going to show you how to do this using the free service Hookdeck, which Hookdeck has pros and cons. It's not the best for every server. I'll talk to you about what are the problems and why you might use it or not use it. But the good news is the way that I'm going to show you, like this, how it starts in Discord, as well as how it connects over inside the Taught scripting in Conan. Those will still be similar if you end up using a different method from Hookdeck. So I believe there are other services. I'm not sure if there are any other free services that do what Hookdeck does. Basically, you cannot go directly from a webhook node in the Taught scripting to Discord. You need a webhook router relay in the middle that's going to translate for Discord and connect it up. So that is what Hookdeck is doing. So I'll kind of go through it here. The sort of pros of Hookdeck is, like I said, it's a free service. Free is always great. I think like there's one tricky bit which I'm going to walk you through, but once you know how to do that, once you get that tricky bit, it's mostly pretty easy to use. I think it's easy to view like what's gone on, and if there are errors, it's easy to see. So, and then it is definitely a set it and forget it. Like once you've done your initial setup, you're not going to have to get back into it very often unless you just want to review, it gives you information on what has happened with your webhooks, but you don't need to do a lot of maintenance once you've set it up. Now, that said, the con, and there is a big con, is that you are almost certainly at some point going to get an error that you've hit the rate limit on Discord. So what that is, Discord has rate limits to keep people from spamming. So if a service like hits those webhooks too many times in a short period of time, like over a second or whatever, it basically puts a hold on it and kind of freezes you and you don't get to post for a little bit. Now, that would be fine if it was just about your usage because, none of us are going to try to spam. But the problem is it considers Hookdeck, as I understand it, like all one group of traffic versus individual users of Hookdeck. So sometimes when times are busy, you're going to get locked and it's going to take a while for your messages to get through. So that's the major con. Now, Hookdeck does basically hold on to that message and retry after a little bit. So I would say it's pretty rare that it's not going to ever get through. I think the default is to retry like 5 times, and generally within 5 times the message gets through. A lot of times it's even, on the second try. But that does mean that your Discord messages don't always post right when you put them through. So you have to decide for yourself and for your server whether that's a deal breaker. That's kind of up to you. So anyway, I'll show you how to use it, I'll show you how to set it up, and then you can decide whether that makes sense for your server. So obviously the first thing that you're going to need to do is create a Hookdeck account. I've already done that. I think you all can figure out how to create an account on a free service, so I'm not going to walk you through that. But once you have your Hookdeck account created, you're going to come back to Discord, and I've created a test channel in my server to do this in. And you're going to go to the Edit Channel, down here on Integrations, and we're going to create a webhook. Now on this webhook, you can change the profile pic, you can change the name. I'm not going to change that here because I'm actually going to show you how you can control that from within Conan. which is nice because then if you have, for instance, like multiple NPCs that you want messages coming from, then you can change the icon and you can change the name of the bot that's posting. I will say that to do it that way, to have your icon defined inside the tot scripting, you do need to have it hosted somewhere on the web. So you need to have the URL for the icon, unlike if you put an icon here, obviously you can just upload it to Discord. So that's the thing to keep in mind. But for me, I have hosting for my images. I have my own website. You can also probably host them somewhere like Imager or something like that. So I'm going to leave these as they happened on default, and we're just going to copy this webhook URL. And we're going to go back to Hookdeck. So obviously, if you've just created your account, you're not going to have this information in here. This is my other connections that I've created. But where we're going to go is on this left-hand menu to connections. And we're going to create a new connection. So one thing that is a little annoying to me about Hookdeck is every step of the process has to have its own name. So I'm just going to give these, since this is my test, I'm just going to, we'll say test Conan, because the request source is where it's coming from. And it is important in the advanced configuration, you need to check this get, because the request that comes from Conan is a get request, so if you don't check this, it will not work. Next, we're going to create our destination. So again, I'm just going to let's do test Discord because that's where we want it to go. Your destination type is HTTP. And then in this endpoint URL, you're going to paste the webhook URL that you just copied. And then within the advanced configuration down here, we want to change our custom HTTP method to post. So we will, at one point when we get there, create a transform, and what that is, it takes the information that Conan has sent to Hookdeck and it rearranges it in a way that Discord can understand. But I'm going to wait on that because what I want to do is establish the connection first. Once we establish the connection, it will give us some extra information that we're going to need to create the transform. So we'll skip that for now. And then in addition to naming our source and our destination, we also have to name the overall connection. So we create our connection. So now we're going to get another URL to copy. Just click that to copy it to your clipboard. And this is going to stay like this until we have gone back to Conan and made the first connection. So let's go to Conan, and I will show you how to create this script that's going to call to Hookdeck. So I'm going to call this Discord webhook. And we're going to set up some variables. So we need a text list. I'm going to call this send list. So all the pieces of information that you are going to send to Discord need to be compiled in a list. So that's what this variable is for. And then I'm going to create a couple of variables that will be parameters so that when you call this script to send your webhook, you can fill these in from wherever you're calling it. So we'll add 3 more text fields here. So we need one for avatar URL, which is going to be, again, where your image is hosted for the icon. You're going to want one for bot name, which would be the name that that bot will post under. And then you're going to want message content, which will obviously be the content of the message that you are sending to Discord. So basically, you just take these 3 pieces. Oh, I forgot to make them parameters, so do make sure and do that. I'm going to take these three pieces, put them together into a list, and then we're going to send it. So I'm going to do a couple of add value to list. Now, I'm going to put them in a particular order, and I would say if you are going to use my Hookdeck script, which I will share, it will be linked from the description, also use this order, because if you get them out of order, it will not work. So, avatar URL is first. Bot name second. And then obviously message content will be third. And then once we've put together our list, we're gonna just use the send webhook node. So the router URL is the URL that we have copied from Hookdeck, so it should start with this hkdk.events, and then the data that we're sending is that send list. So that's pretty much it for this piece of things. We're going to go ahead and build that. Now I'm just going to make a test script so that we can call it and make that connection with Hookdeck. So let's call this Discord test. And we're going to run subscript for that script that we just created. And forgive me, I'm going to try to do this from memory, so hopefully this is the right URL for this icon. So what I'm using for this example, in the capital city on our server, there is a tavern and an inn, and the tavern keeper is Ceresian is our NPC. And so I already have an icon set up for him, so we're going to go ahead and use him as our message poster for this test. For the message content, you can use Discord formatting. So for instance, you can do the asterisks for italics, you can do, I think it's double asterisks for bold, and I'm blanking on some of the other Discord formatting, but you can do any Discord formatting in your message content. You can also do default Discord emojis. I have been told that it is possible to do server-specific emojis with a webhook. I have not had success doing that. I've only had success with the built-in Discord emojis. So, that might be something that you can experiment with. Just know that I have only successfully gotten it to do the default built-in Discord emojis. But you can do that. Hang on, I'll type this message here. And then the way that you do your emojis is with colons on either side of the name of it. So let me try to think of course, I'm blanking. My brain thinks it never knew the name of any emoji ever. I think pleading might be one, so we'll try that, see if it works. So again, any formatting that will work in Discord, you can put in your message content. The one more thing that we want to do in this test is put a command so that we can easily call it from chat. So I'm just going to say Discord test will be our command. We're going to build that. And now we will go ahead and call that. So what should happen when we get back to Hookdeck in just a moment here. Okay, great. So you can see it's showing that it did connect with Hookdeck. Now, I mentioned earlier the rate limit stuff. So that's what this 429 error is. It's saying Discord says you've hit the rate limit. So sometimes you'll do that when you create the connection. It does not matter because what we're doing right now is just establishing the connection with Hookdeck and making sure that we connect those two pieces so that we can get the information to create our transform. So don't worry about the error right now. As long as you have like a date and a status, that means it connected successfully. So we're going to close out of here. So we just this up here is the one we just created, the test Conan to Discord. So now we are ready to add a transform. So you're going to click on this middle piece, and right down here you're going to add a transform, create new transformation. So then what we get is this window with, so it's basically JavaScript. If JavaScript is familiar to you, then you might be able to write your own transform. The Discord has the TOT Discord has some folks have shared how to set up the headers, which, so credit where credit is due, I did not figure out the headers myself. I have only written just the little piece that breaks the information into the pieces to send the bot name and the avatar URL as well as the message. So I'm just going to copy and paste from over here, but I also will link to this, like I said, in the description, so that if you just want to copy and paste, you are welcome to do that. So we're going to paste that in this window here. And you'll see that we have X's in this Hookdeck original IP. So I am going to blur my IP that shows up out here. You don't want to share that with folks, but basically you're going to look on this left-hand side and find that same Hookdeck original IP on this side, and you're going to copy it, and you're going to paste it in place of the X's. I do also want to just kind of talk through what this is doing here. So you can see here, this information on this side is basically what Hookdeck got from Conan. And you'll see this piece here that says params. And if you scroll over, it's the information that we put in, that we sent. So it's got that URL, it's got the bot name, and it's got our message. And those are separated by what's called the pipe character, is this little guy. So what I have it doing here with the JavaScript is basically just looking at that whole piece and saying split it apart where that pipe character is, and then put the pieces in this order. It also does a thing, so sometimes, like for my server, for example, I actually want to have pipe characters often in the name of the NPC, because I might put Ceresian pipe bartender at the Cascade, is the tavern where he is the bartender. So in order to use, I've specifically formatted this so that I can have pipe characters in the name of the NPC without breaking things. So when I want to use that pipe character in the name of NPC, instead of typing the character itself, I type the HTML for it, which is ampersand pipe semicolon. So basically, in addition to splitting these pieces out where the pipe character is and putting them in the right order, it's also saying if you see this HTML for a pipe character, now it's safe to replace with the actual pipe because we've already split it apart. So just so you know what that code is doing here. And you'll want to name your transformation something. So let's call it Discord Prep. Let's call it Discord Preparation, because I think I already have one called Discord Prep for one of my others. We'll confirm, and then confirm again. And then make sure you save, because if you don't save here, it won't apply the transform that you've created. So, in theory, we should be ready to go. So I'm going to bop back to Conan and run a test. Prepare yourself, we may get that 429, and then what happens is it just is going to queue it, and it's going to take a while. So Depending on whether it works right away, you may not be able to see it come to my Discord server immediately, but we're going to give it a go. And actually, I'll show you in Hookdeck. Here's how you can look and see what's coming through and whether it went through correctly or not. So you go to your events here, and you can see right on the top, here's the one that we just ran. We got another 429. It's okay. So I'm actually going to do a thing, and I would recommend you do it too. So if you get a 429 on your first test, when you are making that initial connection, I would go to this screen and X out. You don't want it to keep attempting that first test because it's not formatted correctly for Discord. So it's a waste of, basically it's a waste of that repeating ping to retry because it will never work. It's not going to go through correctly. We want to keep this one, and it will tell you here's when it's going to try again. Let's see, it's last happened at 22:38, and it's going to be 23:22. So, oh gosh, what is that, about 30-40 minutes? I can't do math, but so as you can kind of see, unfortunately, if it doesn't go through successfully, it is kind of a significant wait until it runs again. So you can decide whether that makes sense for your server or not, but you can at least know that this is how to set it up and this is how it works. And if you were using a different service, or if you had hosted your own service to be your like webhook processor between Conan and Discord, you would set it up in Conan the same way. You would just use your URL that related to what was going to process it for you. So that's how that all works, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to you, because I think we're going to go ahead and use it in my next video, where we're going to talk about how to set up RP jobs for your players. And one of the pieces that I use for my server when I offer RP jobs is once they clock in for their job, it posts in an RP opportunities channel in Discord to say, hey, this person is, for instance, working at the tavern, or this person is working at the infirmary, and, you know, kind of invites players who are not currently on the server to get on and roleplay with them. So prepare yourself for that. But before we got into that, I wanted to show you how to set up your Discord webhooks.